welcome back to the Website Investing Show. Today we have the familiar team of Adam and Elena now. Elena's got a new high-res camera, so you can see her now, which is good. But we also have Andrea from Boopos, who's going to talk to us about acquisition financing as well today. So welcome, everybody. Just have a quick hello. So welcome, Glenn. Welcome, Birdie. So, yeah, as I say, today's show, we're going to be talking about acquisition financing. But before we do that, let's find out how everybody's doing. So how are you, Elena?
Very good, thank you. It's been just a usual week, working on the data project, hunting for H domains. So pretty much sums up my week. How about you guys?
Yeah, well, good, go Adam.
I was just going to say, are we doing the 35 likes equals the showing the dog on the stream today, or?
Yes, but only if we get 35 likes. Only if we get 35 likes.
Yeah, we need 35 likes. Get liking. Like 9 already.
So. It's worth it. It's a puppy, guys. It's worth it. You all want to see it.
No. Cool. So yeah, everything okay with you too, Adam?
Yeah, good. So as you know, I'm now in Spain, and I bought a fishing rod yesterday. So I've been fishing in the past, and every time I've gone, I've had someone there to set up the rod and put the hooks on and stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see if I can do it on my own. Once I have caught a fish, I don't really know how to take it off the hook properly. So we'll see. Fingers crossed we don't catch anything, and I'm just going to go and sit there for an hour in the sun pretending to fish. But yeah, should be fun. So I'm going to give it a try today. So I'll let you know next week what the outcome is if I caught anyone.
Exciting. Where are you in Spain, Adam? Out of your, I'm also in Spain. That's what I'm asking. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in Torrevieja.
Nice.
Tell me. It feels like this is like a retirement, like the retirement place of Spain. It's full of elderly Spanish people.
I think you're very right on that. But that also means it's good quality of life, right?
It does. It's awesome. Yeah, everyone's really happy because everyone's retired. They're all like, this is great.
No stress.
Yeah.
How's your week been, Andrea?
It's good. It's been good. I'm back in Madrid. In our team, we have an office here in Spain in Madrid, and then we have our main office in the US. So I'm usually back and forth, and right now I'm very close to Adam. Same country at least, so good.
Close enough. Okay, so if you're new around here, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. More subscriptions, more viewers, more fun. As always, if we get 35 likes, there'll be a giveaway at the end of the show for some Niche Website Builders merch, t-shirts, hats, mugs, the works. So if you want some of that, be sure to like till we get to 35, and we'll do a draw at the end of the show. We always mention our Building Empires event. We ran one in June, which was really successful, a 3-day event, which was people talking about website investing, how to make money online, and that went really well. So you can go and get the replays for those at building.empires.live. But we also have a second event planned on the 30th of January to the 3rd of Feb. So you can go and book at the same URL, building.empires.live. Andrea, we might have to get you to come along to that maybe as well.
Yeah, that actually sounds very nice. Where is the event going to be hosted?
It's going to be a virtual event, so it's online.
Oh, yeah, then come in, for sure. That's going to be exciting. Very much on point also, with the topic.
Yeah, definitely. And as always, if you want to get the best deal for any offers that we have running at Niche Website Builders right now, check out the link in the subscription to go and grab a deal. So, Andrea, we're going to hand over to you now, and you're going to take us a little bit about through a little bit about what you do and acquisition financing and everything. And then after that, we're going to go to Elena to do the usual domain teardowns. So we're going to pick 2 H domains from our inventory that are available on the Niche Website Builders website and take a look through about how you could build a business on top of those H domains. So, Andrea, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what it is that Boopos does and your role?
Yeah,
Oh.
first of all, guys, can you hear me all right? The connection today in the office is bad, and I think you might be cutting off. I don't know if I'm also cutting off.
You went very, very pixelated just a minute ago, but I think you're okay.
Yeah. Can you still hear me all right, though?
Yeah, I think it's going okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. For the patient in advance, and sorry about that. I'm not sure. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I think you can. I think now you can also see me, right? It got better, right? Okay, cool. It comes and
Yeah.
goes. Sorry about that. There seems to be an event around, and I guess there's just a lot of people connected to the Wi-Fi today.
Oh.
She's got.
Oh,
Wait.
She's back.
I'm back. No, wait. I saw you laughing. Like I disappeared, but I saw you laughing. I think I froze.
Yeah, you disappeared for a moment. So, but now it seems better. So maybe that was a good thing.
Oh God. Okay. Anyway, let's try to make this work. Is my screen frozen, or can you actually see me?
Yeah, we can see you.
Okay, cool. Well, I was saying thank you guys for having me. This is very exciting to be able to join one of your shows. The topic is very much on point, as what we do at Boopos is basically help people that are looking to invest in the acquisition of e-commerce and SaaS businesses, mainly acquire those websites or those online businesses, being able to leverage their capital, right? And just being able to raise that extra money in order to be able to acquire the company. And this is quite reiterative, but it's interesting enough to know that there's absolutely no one else that's doing what we do. So when we first started Boopos over more than a year ago right now, we realized that there was a lot of people out there that were investing in the online space. And a lot of people that are very talented, very experienced, and they want to own their business and run it and not just work for a boss, right? But when you try to go to the bank, for instance, and raise the money, that gets challenging the moment you talk about a content site or a software as a service or an app or an e-commerce. They kind of freak out. You can imagine the traditional banker being like, wait, what's that? And then it will be very bureaucratic. They will ask for a lot of requirements. It will take forever. They will ask for personal guarantees, which is of course not ideal. You do not want to risk your personal assets. So at the end, we noticed that there was the niche and there was this interest in people acquiring e-commerce and SaaS. And that's why we started to do alternative financing. And we used a revenue-based lending approach. Have you guys ever heard of that concept before? Have you spoke about it in the show?
We spoke about it with you, but not in the show. So
Okay, fair enough. So I'm guessing there's a lot of people listening that have never actually heard about it. Some people that have been in this space for some time might actually be more familiar with the concept. It's something different, right? It's a different game. We're talking about a different space. It's the online space. It's not the traditional brick and mortar. So the financing solution had to be something different and new. This is what revenue-based lending is. And it's pretty straightforward. It's basically we lend X amount of money, and the way to pay it back is through a percentage of the revenues that the business is generating. This means, first of all, it's a very flexible way of financing. And it's available to anyone in the online space in the sense that Boopos, which is the company I'm working at, we are very much focused in acquisitions. So anyone that is looking to invest in the acquisition of an e-commerce, SaaS business, even content sites whatsoever, digital marketing agency, they can come to us. We have their back with this revenue-based lending approach. And we're the only ones that are covering this acquisition space with loans that go long-term up to 60 years, because we understand that when you're buying something, it's going to be a bigger facility. You probably want the extra time to pay it off. However, people that are just running their e-commerce or the content side or their SaaS business, good to know that if you Google revenue-based lending, you can also find several providers that will be focused on working capital and growth, for instance. So it's an approach per se that works very well in this space and that allows you the flexibility to repay according to the performance of the business. So whereas with the bank, you'll have a fixed installment, and then if you sell less, maybe you're in trouble. With revenue-based lending, since you're paying back the loan through a percentage of the revenues, if you sell more, you're just going to be able to pay back faster because you're just going to be paying back a bigger chunk of the debt each month. Whether if you sell less, you're just going to be paying less because again, it's always through a percentage. Do you guys have any questions so far? Anything you'd like us to perhaps reiterate? Is there anything you'd like us to touch upon in this brief introduction when it comes to revenue-based lending?
I've got a load of questions, but I don't know if you're already going to cover them later on or not. So probably just wait until you've done the introduction, then I'll start asking some questions.
It's a great model, though. I love it as a model.
Yeah, it's an awesome model.
It works very well. And in fact, since you just said that, let me share my screen. And I'm going to share with you guys a one-pager that kind of covers the whole model. Now here we're very much focusing on what we do at Boopos. So again, it's revenue-based lending for acquisitions. That's our keyword and magic word, right? It's investing and becoming the business owner in the online space. So if we compare it to an SBA loan, which would be synonymous to a bank loan in the US, we already talked about a few things when it comes to financing your acquisitions through the most traditional approach. They will take forever. And those of us that are in the online space, I'm sure you've noticed, it's a very fast-paced environment. You have to be quick. You can't wait 3 months to get qualified just to know if you're getting out the money.
Yeah.
It's fixed installment, we were saying before, so not very flexible. And of course, it comes at the risk of your personal guarantees. Other options that could be out there that are not always an option on an individual basis, but for people that are looking to raise capital from venture equity or venture debt, that could be there. But then, of course, it will be a longer process. It will be more complex. And in this case, it will come at the cost of diluting yourself and warrants and losing part of your ownership. With the revenue-based lending approach, the first keywords we've already talked about. It's a variable payback scheme. This percentage of revenues that we take on a monthly basis is always tailored to every business on a case-by-case basis. So this basically means that we'll always try to lend as much as possible. We can go up to 80% of the acquisition price, and we'll adjust the royalty to that business and that amount. This means that we'll always want to make sure that even though we establish the royalty on the revenues, we will make sure that it's not drowning the entire profit of the business. Now, of course, we work fast. Targets businesses can be pre-approved for financing in less than 48 hours. And once you're ready to move forward to closing, once you have an LOI in place, once you've agreed with the seller to the asking price and the structure, etc., we can get you funded in less than a week. So definitely a different game. This is just because we're talking about the online space. So our model is also very much adapted to that. It's very data-driven. And then absolutely no personal guarantees. Otherwise, what's the point? We want to offer useful financing, and that also gives business owner a second chance, and no dilution. So the company is always 100% yours, of the buyer, of the business owner, and the revenue share stops as soon as you pay back the loan, right? The royalty is just the way for you to repay the loan. Do you guys have everything clear so far?
Yeah, I wish I'd asked my questions before you showed this page, because you answered about 5 of them already, just with that
Okay,
one.
cool. Is there one here that you want to add, that you think needs clarification regarding the royalty perhaps, or the model so far?
I wondered how eligibility works. We talk about really fast turnaround time, and you can fund, but is the eligibility based on the business, or is it based on the person? Like, how does that work?
I'm glad you asked. That's a very good question. It's a little bit of both. So first of all, when it comes to the person, to the buyer, we're going to be looking for buyers with the right experience. That basically means that a pre-screening of the buyers is based on understanding the proof of funds. So how much do they have to invest in the acquisition? Because we can lend up to 4 times their funds, but we're always going to ask them or require a minimum investment on their end in order to make sure that they have some skin in the game with us, right? Because otherwise, if we're taking no ownership, we're getting no personal guarantees, we do make sure during our analysis that the business is robust, but if anything doesn't go out as planned, we still want to make sure that they're in the game with us and they just won't go to, I don't know, Torrevieja and lay on the beach, right, with you, Adam. So you can always do that, guys, but making sure that the business is still running. So this minimum skin in the game is at least 25% of our lending amount, or at least 15% of the total asking price, whatever of the two is bigger, which is why the leverage they can get is 4 times their funds. So first thing we'll ask from the buyer is just to make sure that they have at least 25K, 20K, something for them to be able to aim for a business around 100K. Otherwise, it just makes no sense. You don't really need us, right? Anything smaller, you can always raise from friends or families. That's not useful anymore. And again, our whole aim is to be useful. So first part of the pre-screening would be the proof of funds. If in the US, we will also ask for a credit score. If not in the US, there's just an option to say, I'm not based in the US, fair enough. And then the third thing we'll ask for is just a link to the LinkedIn profile or some kind of resume or something so that we can look into their experience. They don't have to have been working in an e-commerce store, for instance, for 10 years. But just the fact that they have some managerial experience, or maybe some experience in marketing, or some kind of experience that they can bring value and add to the business, that's good enough to go. So that's when it comes to the buyer. When it comes to the business, I can share my screen again. And by the way, I can absolutely share this with you guys after if you want to share it among the community. But basically, our two main verticals are e-commerce, including D2C and Amazon FBA, and subscription-based businesses, which is generally SaaS, agencies, etc. We can also do, in some cases, content sites, for instance, but in KDPs, for instance, or content sites, we will value the experience of the buyer more than in other cases, perhaps, because we do understand that they can be more volatile kind of websites, and they rely a lot on the experience and the skills and the knowledge of the business owner.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that was one of the questions from Glenn. He said, based on the slide,
Yeah,
media websites aren't eligible, but they are in certain situations, right? Then, if that's
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. They are, as long as all websites, all businesses have to pass their underwriting score. So in this sense, you can always view us not just as a financing partner, but also as a partner in analysis. We want to make sure they're good businesses. And then when it comes to these niche websites, that's where the experience of the buyer is particularly important. And if you actually have experience in the space, you get extra points, right? That's a way to put it.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. And in terms of the kind of eligibility on the websites there, are you looking for websites that have a track record of X amount of time, or is it above a certain revenue threshold?
You got it, both, right here. So minimum, we require 18 months, ideally 24 months, just because this financial insights let us understand the performance and the value of the business so far, and will forecast a scenario of no growth or just continuing the same trend, and still wanting to make sure that, first of all, the debt will not drown the profit of the business. Second, that we're still going to be able to get repaid within those 5 to 6 years, right? So understanding the history is particularly important for us to be able to understand where it can go. Now, the one thing we're not taking into consideration is, again, the experience and the skills of the business owners to be able to run the business, grow it, and then if you do so, that's great, because you're just going to be able to repay faster, and instead of having penalties like most banks do, we have incentives for that, which we can talk about in a bit. When it comes to the minimum trailing 12 months revenue, we usually look for 100K. We can do some exceptions, either very good businesses between 50 and 80K, but usually that's kind of the lowest we go. And then, of course, they do have to be profitable businesses. Just otherwise, it makes no sense, right? If there's no room for debt, if there's no room to grow the business, then it's like a death sentence for both.
That makes sense. On the smaller side, so the smaller deals are like 100,000. Is there an upper limit? So I see some of the deals on Empire Flippers, for example, are in the millions. Do you go up as high as that, or?
Yeah, so it's funny that you bring up Empire Flippers. We've fully integrated with them. We work with almost all the brokers out there, and I think Empire Flippers is probably one of the strongest partnerships we have. We get a lot of interaction from them, deals, buyers, sellers, etc. So right now we have a cap per deal of 2 million. Our deal cap increases as proportionally or as together with our loan book. So we're getting closer to the 3 million in the very near future. But right now, let's just stay with 2 million per deal. Now, the fun thing or the interesting part is that cap is per deal, not per buyer. So a lot of people that are looking to create a portfolio and invest in websites just like they can invest in other traditional assets, we can help them acquire more than one business and cap out on each business or max out on each business, because there's no limit for the amount of deals that we can help one particular buyer or company acquire.
That's awesome, because we talk about de-risking through building a portfolio. So say someone's got 100,000 that they want to spend, and rather than spending on one site, they could come to you and potentially you could help them finance $500,000 sites.
Exactly. Or even, let's say you have 100K, right? So when you use a financing partner, you can either just spend it all, as you were saying, on buying a bigger deal. And with 100K, you could aim for something around 600K, for instance. We could put 400. You would just have to put 25% or 100K, and then you could always use a salary note, for instance, for the remaining 100. So that's one option. Or then I'm also a big fan of the strategy you were mentioning, Adam, which is just leveraging, right? If you have 100K, you can also acquire 3 smaller companies The three of them worth 100K. You're just investing 30K on each. Boopos is investing the rest. And then you're diversifying your revenue streams, your risk. And then, of course, down the road, if you're looking to do an exit, the return of investment is way bigger if you exit 3 businesses than if you just exit 1. So in this sense, that is completely legit and something that works with Boopos.
That's awesome. Yeah. Okay. And then you touched on something there, which I think was important, but probably need to explore a bit more, is the integration with the marketplaces. So how does that work? Because I see on the site you've already got pre-approved deals on there and stuff. Have you already vetted those deals? Is like the turnaround quicker on those ones, or how does that work?
Yeah, so basically how that works is that we're in constant touch with all of these brokers that we have a relationship with. And at this point, I'd say that we are partners with almost all of the big brokers out there. So Empire Flippers, Quietlight, F International, etc. And they're sourcing us deals on a weekly basis. Sometimes our team also just proactively sources deals from there. And we're analyzing hundreds of deals on a weekly basis. All of those that we pre-approve and that are not under an LOI or that are not proprietary from our buyers, of course, we post them on our site of pre-approved businesses, which we can think of as a marketplace of aggregated deals from other brokers. So everything that you find on our site that is already pre-approved has a term sheet and it's ready to go. Now, in order to access those pre-approved deals and just download as many term sheets as you guys want, you can even save them to your watch list, monitor them, etc. You just have to become a pre-approved qualified buyer, which is as easy as we were saying before, just providing proof of funds and LinkedIn profile, and if you're in the US, a credit score. That is easy to get, and that will just gives you access straight to that place where you can find deals that are vetted and are good enough, right? So you already trust that those have been pre-approved by someone that is very picky, making sure they're good businesses, which is always good to know.
Do you do that due diligence in-house, or do you outsource the due diligence to a different company, by the way, just for all the due diligence of the deals?
Yeah, so when it comes to the analysis that we do of the deals, it's in-house 100%. We have an excellent team of analysts and underwriters. And then when it comes to the actual due diligence, we still expect buyers to carry out a due diligence. So it's something very that they can find our analysis very complimentary, but they still need to do their homework. And then we don't really partner with any provider of due diligence, but we can always send through recommendations that we know have worked very well. So there's always an ongoing communication. We value transparency a lot. And we see our buyers not as clients like Bangmite, but actually as partners. Like, we're investing in a business together. We want to get our money back, and we want you to be able to grow and be successful in your business. So we want to make sure that you have the best guidance throughout the whole M&A process. And if that means getting you in touch with good due diligence providers, we got your back on that.
Nice, that's awesome. And did someone need to come to you with a business plan? Like, because we were starting these website builders, we had our office in like almost like a little incubation thing where they would help other small business, and the amount of people that would come there wanting help but wouldn't because they wouldn't write a business plan, I just thought was crazy. It feels like a business plan is a blocker for a lot of people. Do you need a business plan?
Adam, we're not venture equity, right? We're not going to make the buyers go through all of that hassle. We understand you need to go fast. We just want to make sure you know how to run a business. So at some point, you are going to have to jump into a call with either myself, someone else from the team, sometimes our CEO, just to make sure you're someone serious and you have a plan in place, but you do not have to actually build a business plan and bring that to us. That is something else. You can go to some venture equity fund and they'll ask for that. Yeah. We're a different game, right? A different vibe.
Cool. That makes sense. Mm-hmm. Glenn's asking a question here, and he's asking what the typical interest rate is on the finance.
Okay, so that's one of my favorites. Glenn, I have good news for you and bad news. We don't really have a typical interest rate. What does that mean? And I can't insist on this enough because that's a question we get asked a lot. And it's the interest rate, so on. We're not a bank, so our model is very different, right? We don't work with the typical interest versus principal model. And revenue-based lending, the royalty, which is that percentage of revenues that we take every month, includes both interest and principal. So once you get a term sheet, you know upfront what's the amount you're borrowing and what's the percentage of royalty that you would be paying, right? Or that percentage of revenues. Now, whenever we're saying at the beginning, whenever we're looking at a deal, we're going to try to lend as much as possible to be the most useful. And we'll adjust the royalty that we need in order to make sure that without running the profit of the business, we're going to be repaid the full amount within time. Now, that doesn't mean that you need to get, let's say we're looking at a deal that we give 100K and we set a royalty at 15%, or let's keep it around 20%. If you don't need 100K, you don't need to take 100K. You can always say, actually, I just need 50, for instance. And you can expect the royalty to decrease half. And then instead of having that 20% royalty, would have a 10% royalty. Why? Because it's not an interest rate. It's that unique payment, which is the way in which you're repaying the loan. So when it comes to the total amount or the cost of the loan, that will depend on when you're paying back the loan. Again, the idea is to be useful and to offer flexibility. So instead of having this interest model, we have a multiplier scheme model. Okay, and now, let me know if you lose me at any point, because here's where it gets tricky. It's actually very straightforward, and I can always share another slide, but let's see if it makes sense without the slide. So we give you up to 6 years to repay the loan. And we made the math, and if you're just leaving if the business is stable and there's not a big decrease or a big growth or whatever, you're going to be able to repay the loan easily within those 6 years just through the royalty. Now, if you wanted to repay the loan earlier in time, you can do so. If you want to restructure with another source of financing, if you win the lottery, if for whatever reason you need to repay earlier, that's totally okay. And that's where the multiplier scheme comes into action. So the way it works is you need to reach a total amount to repay the loan, like a threshold, depending on the year in which you stand. So if the first year you wanted to repay the loan completely, it's just 1.15 times the amount you borrowed. So let's say you borrow 100K, it's 115K, right? That you should repay. So let's say that you've grown the business, you've already been able to pay 100 amazingly through the royalty within 10 months, even the 11th month, you can just pay the remaining 1,500. That's perfect. You're debt free. Now, in most cases, people don't grow the business that far. So that much, right? So the multiplier just increases at the same time that you're multiplying the payments of the loan, right? Of the royalty. So in the second year, instead of 1.15, the threshold is 1.30. But you're already deducting 2 years of royalty payments. So the remaining balance will be less. Is this making sense so far, guys? Do you think it's better if I share a slide?
Yeah, I think
that makes sense.
Kind of. I think share a slide would be good, though.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just 1 second to pull it up. Okay, here we go.
Glenn's got all the good questions. He's got more comments.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Cool. Ignore the numbers. Okay, the numbers are dummies. The only thing I want us to focus on is here, the multiplier scheme or the prepayment scheme. So you have up to, it shows 5, it's actually 6 years to repay the loan. And you know upfront that the maximum you'll ever be paying, no matter how much you grow the business or if you sell it for 10x, the maximum you'll ever be repaying is 1.6 times the amount you borrowed. And this is from the 4th year onwards. If you repay earlier in time, depending on when you're paying back the loan, either year 1, year 2, or year 3, there will be a different multiplier. And it's always times the amount you borrowed. So it's 1.15 times the amount you borrowed in the first year, 1.30 times the amount you borrowed in the second year, 1.45 times the amount you borrowed on the 3rd year, and then the 4th year onwards, it's the cap, which is 1.6 times the amount you borrowed. And then whenever you're repaying the loan, you always have to deduct the payments that you've done through the royalty. Was that better? Did that make more sense?
Does that mean, so in year 1 you would pay 15%
Exactly
interest, and in year 2 is 30%, year 3 is 45%, up to a maximum of 60%?
That's where it starts to get tricky. No, it's not a 30%, 45%, 60% interest rate. Absolutely not. That's insane. So it's the interest or the APR at the end of the day will depend on when in the second year you're paying back the loan. Because if you pay back the loan in, let's say, month 14, it's going to be more expensive than if you pay it back in the month 24, because you're spreading the total cost in 24 months instead of 14 months, right? So it's like a dynamic IPR that adapts to when you're paying back the loan. Did that make more sense now?
Is there a range then? So if you paid it back at the end of year 1 versus the end of year 5, the rate, like what's the difference in APR range that it would be? Like month 12 versus the end of month year 5, for example?
Yeah,
does that look?
it will depend. It will depend on the business, the loan amount, and the royalty. But you can always expect something between 15% and 25%, depending on when you're paying back the loan and the business. Now, it is more expensive than a bank loan, absolutely. But again, it's a different game. So it's no personal guarantees. It's we're taking most of the risk in these operations. You have a partner in analysis, an ongoing conversation. So it's just different. And the IPR in the end, it's as flexible as the model is, right? So there's not a fixed answer to that. Did that make more sense now, Adam, Mark, Elena?
So I guess the answer is it depends on the situation, it depends on the business, it depends on
It depends on the year and on the moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. All right. Yeah, I think it might have been good to see like a specific example, maybe that would because saying it's different for everyone doesn't really give us an idea of what a typical deal might look like, I guess.
That's a very good question. And the slide that we were showing is an example that we can use and just run it step by step. Perhaps that will be useful. But then on the other hand, whenever you check or pre-approved listings, there's always the term sheet that you can download there. So whoever is slightly interested in acquiring a business, it's worth just spending 2 minutes qualifying on the app. And then you're qualified on the app and you can just download as many term sheets that you have. You'll have someone dedicated from your team, might even be me, or it might be one of my wonderful colleagues that will be running through as many examples, term sheets, doubts as you have. So the real life examples are there, ready, available for anyone that's interested. They can just download it from the website and they'll see how the royalty changes from one deal to the other. They'll see how the amounts that we're lending and the loan to value also change depending on the margins of the business and the acquisition multiples. So all of that is actually publicly available to whoever is interested and can get qualified.
That makes sense. Yeah, I think that's a good idea to go and check them out, because if you can see them, you can just download the term sheet easily on the site.
You can do your maths, right? You can put them down in your Excel. Yeah.
Cool. Glenn's got another good question, which is what happens if the business goes bust? There's no personal guarantee to secure the loan, so who foots the bill?
First of all, Glenn, let's hope that never happens. But it happens, right? It happens. So we are senior debt and we do take a first lien on the assets. So you can think of it a little bit like the leverage buyout model that a lot of funds are using, but on a smaller case for an individual basis. And it's the same concept. We take a first lien on the assets. This means that in the case of default, we would be entitled to take over the business that we bought together. Not over any business that you might have on the side. Those are safe. Your house is safe. It's just the business assets, the website, the e-commerce, the whatever that we bought together. Now, that being said, 2 comments here. The first one is, what is a default? So when does this covenant trigger? We understand by default when there's a 20%, more than a 20% decrease in revenues year over year for 5 consecutive months. So let's say that, Adam, you now buy a business in January 2023. If all of a sudden we saw that February 2023 had a decrease in revenue over more than 20% compared to February 2022, and then we saw that March had decreased more than 20% compared to March the previous year, and then if we saw the same was happening with April, like always compared to the same month the previous year for 5 consecutive months, that's when the fire alarm goes on in the office, right? And we're like, ooh, we need to talk to this person, because this is the second comment. We'll always talk to you first before taking any business. We're not operators. We don't run businesses like you guys do. We do not want to keep the business, because what do we do with the business? So the first solution is always trying to understand what happened, what plan there's in place to rescue the revenues, and then eventually find a creative way to restructure it. Worst case scenario, we take over the business, but that's when, again, both of us lose here. That's a good thing about having financing partner like Boopos, that you're in this together, literally. So we're just hoping that it's the best business and the right buyer for it.
So as long as you've got a plan then as well to bring things back on track, I guess how flexible are you with in that case? Like how flexible would you be with?
It depends, Adam. So right now we financed, just this year, we financed over 80 deals, I think we sent out. Our loan book is around 30 million. And we've just had 4 defaults, 3 of which we've restructured successfully. The first one, the buyer themselves said, you keep it, guys. I'm like, it's giving me a headache. So we've been flexible when we've been able to be flexible. But then again, it's always on a case-by-case basis.
Sure, that makes sense. That's all the questions I had. I don't know if Eleanor or Elena or Mark, you've got any more questions?
I think you covered most of them.
Any more
Oh,
questions?
Glenn, yeah.
Was the interest rate thing clear? Please be critical. We can run through the slide again in different words.
I guess it's more about I guess there's a couple of questions probably. One I guess is like, well, what's the future plans for Boopos? What can we kind of expect around the corner? And I guess another thing is, what's your ideal kind of people or businesses that you like working with? What's your sweet spot, or who do you enjoy most working with?
Yeah, I'll start with the second question. That's a very great question, and I don't think people ask that so much. Really, and now I can see this more on a personal basis since we interact with buyers a lot. I personally really enjoy it when it's a buyer that is committed to innovative about it and excited, and maybe they already own a portfolio of company, but they're committed to it, right? And they're serious about it. And that doesn't mean on the target that you want to buy. This is kind of even like buying a house sometimes or a car. Like you don't always know exactly what you want and you're ready to go with it. Sometimes you're also browsing around, but you're serious about it and you're committed. So the responsive client, the responsive buyers, they keep you posted. They ask questions because that's always okay to ask questions. I myself ask questions all the time. And you don't always have to have the answer, but you have the tools to find the answer. So it's a little bit of an abstract answer to what you're saying, but that's the kind of buyer I really like working with. They have certain experience. Maybe it's not an experience in the online space, but maybe they have experience investing in other fields. Maybe they have managerial experience. Maybe they're great marketers, and now they're just excited about pouring that experience and skills and knowledge into running their own business. So they definitely have a base that they understand the business and they have the tools or the levers to pull in order to grow it. They're excited about it and then they're committed about it, therefore responsive. Of course, they need to have a minimum investment, otherwise we just can work with them. And then from there, it's just about interacting with them, and whoever's nice in the sense is also a good buyer, right?
Yeah. So, the answer may be no. Yeah, I've got. Sorry, I know there's the other question as well, but what's to think about, because this one's aligned to that a little bit. Is so if is there any? And the answer might be no, and that's totally fine. But like, is there anything else that Boopos can sometimes bring to the party other than finance? Sometimes on occasions.
Yeah. So we are very much focused on financing, right? So that's our core product. That's what we do. We finance the acquisition. Now there are a lot of things that can surround or that can be around the idea of financing acquisitions. For instance, we were saying before, for us, they're buyers and not clients, they're partners. So if after a year, for instance, of running the company that we bought together, they needed additional assistance because they went to invest in a huge marketing campaign or an extra inventory, or they want to launch a new product, or for whatever reason they wanted additional capital, we can assist them with that. We can always extend a line of growth up to a year on like more adapted to the business, etc. So the conversation always stays open. And in this sense, there are kind of residual growth products that can always be offered to, like as an addition to our main acquisition product if the buyer requires it or asks for it after certain time, right? Yeah. Then parallel to that, there was the idea that we're there in the analysis. So a lot of people ask us, when is a good moment to bring Boopos into the conversation? Whenever you guys feel more comfortable. Some buyers will send us any deal that they're looking at, and in just 48 hours, we can give them feedback. If it's a good deal, we can provide them with a term sheet. So upfront, they know how much amount they could count from us, what the royalty would be. Other buyers just rather ping us when they are ready in their due diligence and they're already under LOI. So then it's really what advantage you like take from us, right? Or like how you leverage the team also that you have at Boopos. If you want us to be your partner in analysis, we can always give you feedback. If you want us to help you find the right target, we can always advise you with the right target. We'll listen to you. What are your goals? We can send some suggestions from a pre-approved database with more than 200 listings. We can put you in touch with the right people. If you're asking us advice or due diligence, for instance, Adam was adding a lot, right? So there's all of this. And then, of course, we have a direct relationship with brokers. So if anyone's stuck with a deal and they're not getting a response from the broker, or they're struggling, for instance, to unblock deals of certain size in certain marketplaces that will ask for proof of funds, we can help them with support letters, etc. So in this sense, it's always an ongoing conversation. Very holistic.
Yeah.
Right? That's
Awesome. Okay, that makes sense. And the future, what's the future hold for Boopos?
the what? I missed you there.
What does the future hold for Boopos? What can we expect?
It's exciting. It's exciting. So we just announced our Series A, and we all hear the news, right? And we all hear that it's difficult times. Aggregators are laying off. Some of them freeze their acquisition. Interest rates are going out. Cheap money is not available anymore. And despite all of the challenging news that you hear in your environment, especially in the online space lately, a little bit, we were still able to secure 58 million in combined debt and equity. So we're very excited about that. And we just plan on keep improving a product. That for us is very important. Listening to our buyers, taking note of their feedback, making sure that we're useful and that we're offering something useful for them. So growing and learning together. We are still hiring people. So if anyone's looking for a job, guys, check our LinkedIn. We have open positions. And then, spoiler alert, we are looking into expanding into other verticals. That's still in testing phase. But hopefully, if you ask me again in a couple of months, we'll have more to talk about besides the online space.
Interesting.
So scaling it up, that's the idea, right?
Excellent.
Congrats on the Series A. That's massive.
Yeah. We're very excited about it. We're very proud. We've gone a long way, and there's more to come, which is what is even more exciting.
Glenn sent over some more questions. So
Yeah.
Let's tackle them. So one is, does the business have to be acquired under a dedicated private limited or LLL structure?
Yeah, so that's what we recommend. Usually buyers set up LLC structure for every acquisition they do. But then if you already have an acquiring entity set in the UK, US, Canada, Ireland, Australia, we can also work with that. It just makes it easier because we'll take into account the revenues of the assets that we acquired together, so of the business, and we'll take that as a collateral. So it's usually easier if it's just independently set, but it doesn't strictly have to be. So it's just the best practice that we recommend.
Makes sense.
Next
And also, what if the loan hasn't been fully repaid at the end of year 6? I'm assuming you just restructure, right?
Yeah.
But
I mean, if we've done our homework well, it should be repaid by the end of year 6. So, and when it doesn't, it's usually a case of default, and then we go back to that question. So if we do our homework well, that is not a concern.
yeah, well, this is all worst case scenario stuff, right?
Yeah.
What if the business goes bust? What if we can't repay the end of year 6?
You need to know the worst case scenario, right? You need to be prepared for it, and then just aim for the best.
Carrie asks, what's the closest thing to Boopos in the UK? But you deal with someone from the UK can apply for this financing, right?
Yeah. Carrie, the closest thing to Boopos in the UK is Boopos.
Yeah.
Straightforward.
And then last one from Glenn before we'll move on to the age domain teardowns is, currently do you work with newsletter-based businesses?
To be honest, I don't think we've done one so far, but we're looking into different verticals and types. So if it scores well according to our model, it would be doable, I guess.
It's almost on a case-by-case basis at the moment then, isn't it? So
Yeah.
I guess that's the exciting part about being a small growing company is nothing's fixed.
And it's also like we see buyers trusting us a lot because they know that we looked into the business. We looked at it not just from a data-driven perspective, but we also actually have an investment committee ruling over it. So like, you know that if we've approved the business, you can trust that it's a good enough business. That's the idea. So some questions are directly yes or no. Others are more like, hey, let's look into it. And then yes, I mean, as a fast-growing company, you have to grow and learn through the way, right? So we try to stay away from the hard no's unless it's a very obvious hard no.
Yes. That's awesome.
Great. Well, yeah, that's awesome. So, yeah, thanks for that, Andrea. Are you happy to stick around on the stream while Elena goes through her domains?
Yeah, please. I'll mute
And then
myself so I can.
Yeah, there's a chance there'll be more questions anyway. If people are watching slightly delayed as well, they might pop up. So, and then we'll do a quick last Q&A right at the end anyway. So, yeah, we'll have you stick around then. So, Elena, over to you for the domains. Oh, before we do that, I always do this. I always say to you to go, and then I say, "Oh, 1 minute." Right, don't forget to like the stream. We're at 24 likes, so we got 11 more before merch. So get liking and subscribing if you're not already.
Elena, can you show us like the year of the dog? So just like we tease everyone with the dog. Show us the
He's
year of the dog.
literally on my feet, annoying me anyway, so I'll bring him up.
Just the ear, just the ear.
Yeah, just a little bit.
I have to time this right. Hold on.
There you go.
Flash a bit of ear.
The likes will go crazy now.
Here's a little teaser of what's on the other side of the 35 likes. So, like the stream. Okay, I'll get cracking then. And the first one I'd like to start with is called Some Call Me Adventurous. So very good name for a travel site. So the niche is travel. 6 years old, they are 15, but we have some really, really, really good backlinks considering we only have DR 15 and I have some really, really good competitors to show you as well. So I'm just going to get straight into it and share my screen. Okay, so as we've just seen, first I would like to go straight onto the site and what it used to look like, what it was about. So the site was owned by a lovely lady that basically this was her blog where she shared her adventures around the world. She loved to travel. And as we're seeing here, there's a little bit of lifestyle in there where she shared some of other stuff happening in her life. But about 90% of the whole site was about travel. That was the main focus. So she used to live in London, then moved to New York, and she was basically a part-time digital nomad. So this was what the site was about. It was literally just about her and her travels and some lifestyle stuff as well. So pretty clean site, pretty straightforward, I would say. Nothing really negative about it, to be fair. Okay, so let's jump quickly onto the backlink profile. And as I said earlier, we have some really, really good backlinks in here. The first one is Pinterest, which is great. We have HuffPost.com, Pinterest.it, which is Italy. And then we have Refinery29.com. We have Bustle. We have PopSugar. We have TimeDoctor.com, PopSugar.co.uk, and other TravelAgeWest.com as well. So some really good backlinks in here, considering the authority of the domain. So a great kind of starting point so far. Jumping quickly onto the anchor text profile, straight away we're seeing branded right at the top, which is exactly what we're looking for in general. So Samantha was the lady that used to run the blog. So Samantha would be the name we use once we rebuild the site. However, we obviously wouldn't use the surname, which is Samantha O. So just Samantha, because in today's times, particularly EAT, which is expertise, authoritativeness, and trust, is extremely important in the eyes of Google. So this is basically sort of an EAT, an established EAT already. So we kind of want to keep Samantha as the name, or just even Sam should be all right. Down the line, we have some niche relevant anchor text here, like City of Light, Costa Rica, Dublin, go back to London. These are all part of the site. So all of the anchor text here are absolutely natural and really a great looking anchor text profile, just like the backlink profile. Now, in terms of the cleanup process, which is basically the potential of quality backlinks being pointed towards internal pages. Now, as we're seeing here, the majority, again, are pointed towards the homepage, which is lovely. However, we do have some backlinks that are pointed towards some internal pages. These backlinks will need to be investigated, but not a lot of recreations would need to be done and redirection in order for us to retain that link juice and that power. So all in all, pretty straightforward. Okay, so jumping quickly onto the strategy, travel is, it's enormous. Like there's just so much to cover. Like you can just dedicate a whole site to just one part of the planet. That's what travel is in a nutshell. It's massive. Like a lot of sites I've seen dedicate a whole site just for the US. In fact, I've seen certain sites dedicating their whole site just for a state. So that's basically what travel is. However, there is a lot that we can do. Travel is a bit niche, but a lot of areas that we can tackle it. And here is kind of what we have in mind. Listicle types of content around the best things to do in X and Y city, country, town, you name it. This alone, again, could be just a slide on its own. But we're also going to cover best food places in X and Y city types, etc. Now, food and travel often goes hand in hand. So this is where, and based on competitors as well, when you go out to travel, you like to go to the local restaurants. You often don't cook, so you like to go out to eat. So often you're going to Google what's the best place to eat in New York, whatever. So that is why this content is really, really good for us to do. Of course, we're going to tackle informational pieces of content around travel. Examples are packing tips, traveling on the budget, traveling with kids, you name it, all sorts of things like that. Now, because the lady, covered lifestyle, it will be good for us to kind of follow a little bit on that as well. However, lifestyle means many things. Lifestyle is just our everyday lives, kind of. So we're going to try and keep lifestyle as much related to travel as possible, because we don't want to deviate too far from what our main focus is. And our main focus is travel. So it doesn't make sense for us to have a piece of content today about packing tips to travel to New York, and then the next day we have, I don't know, like some sort of like your child being naughty and you're a bit stressed. It just doesn't come together. So we're going to really try to use that lifestyle content related to travel as much as possible. The monetization can come from display adverts, of course, but also from affiliate programs on everything to do with travel. For example, if we're putting together a piece of content on the essential pack list to travel, for example, charging power bank for your phone, travel bags, etc., and things like that. This is a way of us monetizing. Now, jumping quickly onto the competitors, I have some really good competitors I want to show you. And this one is a great example of a domain that's just focused on the US. So the domain is less authority than us. We're 15, they are 13, and they're generating 188,000 per month according to Ahrefs, which is really, really good considering they're only targeting the US. Let's jump on to what they're doing. Now, they're doing classical listicle types of content. And if I click at the top one, we have a list of 68 best places to visit in the US. So it's your classic listicle types of content. So yeah, and it's just one great example of what can be achieved with a listicle types of content. So as you can see, they have Texas, best winter vacations in the US, Texas road trips, Texas beach towns, which I guess will be another listicle types of content. Yeah, it is. So 8 best beach towns in Texas that will make you want to stay, and then they have listed them. So yeah, very straightforward, simple content to be fed. Of course, keyword research is essential, but they're just basically listing things to do and where to go in the US. So a great example of a domain that's less authority than us and really smashing it. Okay, so moving on to the second competitor, it's alwaysontheshore.com. DR10, so 5 DRs less than us, and it's generating 36,000 per month according to Ahrefs. Now let's take a look at what they're doing. They only have 69 pieces of content on their site, and they're generating this amount of traffic. So I think this is pretty decent. So they have restaurants and stuff quite a lot. Restaurants here. And then this can fall nicely onto our informational pieces of content to do with travel, for example, airlines and stuff like that, and travel and passports and, all this sort of thing. Clearwater beaches in Florida, things to do in seaside Florida. So again, this can fall nicely into what I was talking about, things to do in X and Y city, etc. So yeah, this basically domain is a great example of what can be achieved with small amount of posts and small amount of authority as well. So this is the first domain, and I'm going to jump on to the second one, which is Handcraft Studio School, which is dedicated to crafts. It's in the crafting niche, 8 years old, DR26, which is a pretty decent authority. And they have some beautiful backlinks in there as well, and a couple of competitors I cannot wait to show you. Now, I'm going to jump straight into it. Okay. So the first place I would like to go straight into is what the site looked like, what was the purpose of it, and basically everything to do with the site. So, so the domain, this was basically a physical studio in this address that was basically all about artists, makers, students, and teachers who are committed to the preservation of handcrafts. So basically, in a nutshell, this domain was the digital footprint of that studio. Very kind of simple layout, just a site that was very clean and basically just to serve the purpose to be the digital kind of presence of this studio. Okay, so DR26, as I mentioned earlier, let's jump onto the backlinks. So we have Big Cartel, we have Refinery29.com, sfgate.com, Times Union, CreativeLife.com, which is a great niche relevant backlink. Remodelista.com, DR77, pretty good. Craftconsole.org, which is a fantastic niche relevant backlink. California Home Design, which is a good one as well, and more lovely backlinks down the line as well. So pretty decent backlink profile in my opinion. So again, jumping quickly onto the anchor text profile, we have once again branded right at the top, which is exactly what we're looking for. So very, very clean. We have a naked anchor text here, another naked here, another naked, and then another branded, another generic, and a couple of down the line that are again branded, semi-branded, and just really relevant to the niche. So you're really not seeing any link schemes that may have taken place. It's very, very much clean and just what you should really want to see. So a fantastic anchor text profile. Clean up. We are seeing that some internal pages and categories, if you will, are getting some backlinks, but these will need to be investigated. But again, like probably 15 to 20 at the very maximum would need to be recreated and redirected for us to reserve that power. But yeah, nothing excessive. Let's jump onto the strategy. Now, crafting space is big. However, crafting means many things. You can craft many different things, and the niche can be tackled in many different areas. So here's kind of what we have in mind. Information pieces of content, crafting, DIY, all sorts of things like that. This can be many different things. And then we can do individual how-to step-by-step guides on how to achieve X, either how to build a bedside table, how to build a boat. That's a post dedicated to achieving one thing. Then what we can do is do a roundup listicle types of content where we have, for example, if we have an individual post on a step-by-step guide on how to build a boat, then we have a listicle types of content that's 10 of the best DIY boats. Then what we're going to do is we internally link that beautiful individual post onto that rounded post. This is going to help us create a very strong internal linking structure, and internal linking is very, very important and often overlooked. So this is kind of the plan in a nutshell. The monetization that can come, of course, from different tools and products around crafting. Maybe if you're looking at building a table, then you're going to need X and Y, and you're going to need those products in order to do what you're desiring. So as well, we can monetize through display adverts as well. Okay, so let's jump on to the competitors. The craftaholicwitch.com, DR29, slightly higher authority than us, but very, very close. This domain is doing really well. We have nearly 85,000, so very, very good traffic. So they only have 230 pieces of content on there, and they're focused on DIY and all sorts of like creating stuff and doing very much what we will be doing. So crafting and doing stuff like this. So just really straight up our street. So how to make beaded necklace, how to make paper, how to make a stuffed animal, how to make earrings. You get the point. This is exactly something we'll be doing for sure. The second competitor is aapcrafty.com. They are 22, so less authority than us. They, as they suggest, craft projects, tutorials, DIY inspiration, and craft reviews. It's generating 73,000 per month according to Ahrefs. They only have 125 posts as well. Now, these guys are really focusing on dyes. But if you check their site, first of all, the logo is super cute. But they have like DIY and other stuff, not just dyes, but as you can see, they're doing other stuff, but they are really focused on that sort of thing. This is a really good piece of content, gift for crafters. So this is a fantastic way we can monetize. We have other things here. How to make this, some sort of masks. You get the point. This site is doing really well, considering the authority and considering they only have 125 posts. So this is pretty much the H domains.
Very good, Elena. Thank you very much.
You're
That was
welcome.
awesome. So
Yeah, I mean, if anyone in the chat is interested in these domains and they want a further breakdown, just get in touch with me. Happy to discuss further.
yeah, awesome. So yeah, they're available on the Niche Website Builders website. Future businesses that Boopos will provide
Exactly.
financing for. So well, good. All right, so we're at 35 likes. So we made it.
Show us the puppy.
Okay, I'll show him. Hold on.
In the meantime, before we do show puppy, if you want to get into the draw for the merch, type something into the chat now, and we'll do the draw in the next few minutes. If you don't type something into the chat, then you won't get into the draw. That's just the way YouTube works. So type something now, and in the next few minutes, we'll do the draw. Whilst Elena gets her puppy, she's got to chase it now.
Oh, he's so naughty. He's been chewing on this. Look. You're so naughty. Okay, here's the reward. Alfie thanks everyone for liking the stream.
Oh God.
How old is he now?
He's just over 3 months.
Yeah, so he's proper naughty, biting, chewing. Is he housemaid yet?
Yes, he is. He is. He's a good boy.
And what's his name?
Alfie.
Alfie.
His name is Alfie. He is a boy and he is very naughty sometimes, but he brings loads of joy. So he's all right. I was going mad.
He should have been
caught mine too. That would have been so much fun. They could have met over video call, and we would have a contest. We didn't have anything.
Yeah, he's a dachshund, Tim. He's a miniature.
He should be called Merch, I think.
Just he's a miniature dachshund. Like, aren't
He's a
dachshunds
miniature.
small in general? Why would they?
They
why would
are
bring
small in general. This is even smaller.
Why would they do that?
Why did I do that?
He's not gonna grow very big, so he's like this size right now. So he's gonna grow a little bit bigger than that, but not very big. He's very good flat because we have a small flat, so he's a good little dog for a small flat. So
Yeah. Right, Mark, should I get some music going?
Get some music going. Yeah, I don't know if it's there's not too many in the drawer at the moment, but give it another 30 seconds. We'll see. See if it catches up.
Do a bit of chill. That's more upbeat than the hip hop one that we put on the other day, the techno one.
Okay.
Go
10
for it,
seconds
man.
left.
Tim, this is so far from a disco, it's unreal.
I know.
We need the button that Alex has when he presses it. Goes, "Brr, brr, 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 brr."
I know. Can't do sound effects on this. It'd be good. Anyway,
I'll do it with my mouth. It's fine.
I didn't notice the difference, to be fair. So. Okay, here we go. Let's do this. There's very few people in the draw, so if you have entered, you've got a great chance of winning. Okay. Here we go. Should have flashed the merch as well. We did flash merch. Merch the dog. Not merch the merch.
Wait, you sure you copied everyone's name in there? Can't see Tim in there. Can't see April Duffy in there.
Tim's in there.
Oh, not our Tim. Tony, I mean, sorry. I can't see Tony. I can't see April.
He didn't type something in the old. He didn't type anything in there at the right time.
Fair enough.
Oh, April just got in late, I think, probably.
Well
That's
done,
what
Glenn.
I'll do an. Oh, Glenn, well done, Glenn. Yeah. So, Glenn, head over to nichewebsite.builders, claim your merch via the chat or the contact form. Oh, yeah. So Tony said he's allowing other people to win.
Tony's
We'll
full, so yeah.
do it again, and we'll put April in because she came in late. Last chance with the two.
I'll get the music going again.
Be good if April wins after adding a late.
Who's gonna be? It's gonna be Sophie.
Oh, it's going to be Tim or April.
Tim. It's gonna be Tim. Woo.
Oh yeah, the first one was Glenn. Yeah, I forgot. He asked all the questions, so it's about right. He's right that he got it. So congratulations, Tim. Congratulations, Glenn. Yeah,
Congrats,
Tim
guys.
works for Niche Website Builders, so he can grab it internally. Otherwise, yeah, Glenn, head over to the website and we'll get you merched up. That's it. I think there's any more questions. So I just want to say thank you to Andrea for coming on today. Andrea,
you.
sorry. Are you Andrea? You're Andrea, right? Rather than Andrea.
Footwork. I can never notice the difference in my Spanish mind. Whatever you like more.
It's because I've got a Portuguese friend who's called Andrea, so like it's just getting me confused. So,
Yeah, that's it.
but yeah, awesome. All right, so yeah, fantastic. Thanks so much for coming. I'm sure we'll catch up with you again another time. But yeah, if you've got any questions for Andrea, feel free to go direct to Boopos website and check it out. Should have a link to it in the description. If we haven't, we will do shortly. And yeah, otherwise, yeah, if you've got any questions for us as well, just pop us a message on the website. Until next week, we've been really naughty and we haven't got any titles for next week. We're doing the Niche Lifestyle show, and I don't think we've got a title and the Website Investing show, but we will have stuff and we'll let you know early next week what we're going to do. So until next week, have a great weekend.
Adios.
Bye.